Hello and welcome to Complexity Limits Guide to the Mythic Huntsman Altimor encounter, written and produced by Crzypck in coordination with Complexity Limit. Presented by Herman Miller. Just a quick note before we begin, this guide assumes you know the fight already on Heroic. As such, we will not be discussing or explaining the Heroic mechanics, we will assume you know them, and will exclusively be focused on the Mythic changes and strategy. If you need a refresher on the basic mechanics, please check out our Heroic guide on the channel. On Mythic, Sinseeker is modified throughout the entire fight based on which bear is out, and then retains those modifications for the duration of the encounter. Margwar's modification causes Sinseeker to deal substantially more initial damage, but that damage is now split among anyone it hits. In addition to this, the dot component is also substantially weaker. Barghast's modification causes Sinseeker to additionally spawn one Pierced Soul add for each person hit. These work exactly like the Ripped Soul adds and need to be healed to full before they reach the boss, otherwise the boss gains a massive damage buff. Hecutus modifies Sinseeker to also cause the target's hit to explode for mild damage within a 5-yard range. Timing wise, the first Sinseeker of each phase will occur 30 seconds after the bear spawns, and then every 50 seconds while you remain in that phase. When you enter a new phase and a new bear spawns, the timing is reset, and you'll have another 30 seconds until the next Sinseeker. There's one additional change to be aware of. Margwar's Vicious Lunge will now apply a 6-second dot that'll tick twice for a large amount of damage each tick. Okay, let's get into the strategy. You'll want to tank the boss near the middle of the room and set up 5 raid markers. Moon, Skull, and Square will be near the left wall, Triangle will be in the middle of the room, and Diamond will be near the middle but just a bit closer to the right side of the room. The boss will be tanked on the Diamond for the entire fight. Moon, Skull, and Square will be where the Sinseeker targets stand. Triangle comes into play for phases 2 and 3. You'll ideally want at least 6 players in your raid with immunities, if not more. That'll essentially trivialize Sinseeker in phases 2 and 3. In phase 1, you'll want 2 people to help soak each target's Sinseeker. Make sure you aren't accidentally in 2 lines or you'll probably die. Your Sinseeker targets may want to spread just a little bit further than where the markers are, just to make it a little bit easier for people to help soak. When Margwar casts Vicious Lunge, this should still just be run into melee range, with 10 or so people soaking. Healers might want to pop a cooldown for this, since the dot does tick pretty hard. Cleave down the boss and Margwar. When Margwar dies, Huntsman will be around 70% health, and Barghast will spawn, beginning phase 2. Upon entering phase 2, Sinseeker gains the Pierced Soul modifier and has the timer reset. The first Sinseeker in phase 2 will be 30 seconds after the bear spawns. Like on Heroic, you'll want to move Barghast to a corner for Rip Soul and for the Shades of Barghast to spawn. We use the bottom left corner. When Sinseeker is cast, the 3 targets should stand on the markers. You'll want 2 players with immunities to stand on the triangle marker. These 2 players will then be hit by all 3 Sinseeker arrows, but take no damage, get no dots, and still count towards reducing the damage to the actual Sinseeker targets. Additionally, this will cause the Pierced Souls from the 2 immune soakers to spawn at nearly full health, making it much easier for the healers to top them. Make sure your healers precast AoE effects like Wellspring. The Pierced Souls from the actual 3 targets of Sinseeker will also need to be healed to full, but are lower priority as they're further away. You'll need to do this twice while fighting Barghast. As you did in Heroic, grip or knock back the Shades towards the middle and stack the boss and Barghast on them when they're at about 70 energy and blow them up. Healers will still need to bomb heals into the Rip Soul and get it to full health as quickly as possible. When Barghast dies, you'll enter phase 3. For phase 3, the modification to Sinseeker causes targets to explode within a 5-yard radius. Fortunately, if you set up your markers correctly, the affected players are already spread out more than 5 yards. On top of that, if you continue having groups of 2 players using immunities to soak on Triangle, they also aren't going to be affected by the 5-yard explosion. They'll have immunities up. So you can just handle Sinseekers in phase 3 exactly the same way as you did in phase 2. At the beginning of phase 3, you'll still have the second set of Shades up from Barghast. When they reach around 70 or 80 energy, use grips and knockbacks to bring them to the boss, pop Bloodlust, and nuke. Tanks will need to be careful handling Hecutus and his crushing stone stacks throughout the phase. You should run away from Hecutus when he reaches 3 stacks, and then bring him back on top of Huntsman. Don't forget to run puddles out near the walls. Other than that, just pump damage into the boss and the bear. When Hecutus dies, Huntsman will still take double damage, finish him off, collect your mythic purples, and move on to the next boss. Thanks for checking out our video. Now that you know how to kill the boss, be sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for the rest of our guides, kill videos, and a whole lot more.